It's that card girl, and today we're going to be taking a look at the One Piece TCG's Starter Deck 26. This is a purple-black deck with Monkey.D.Luffy as the leader. Let's go ahead and get into this box and check it out. Inside, we have the play sheet, our brick, and our OP11 booster pack. We'll set that aside to look at later. Our brick consists of our leader card, 50 card deck, and Dawn cards. Let's get it unwrapped so we can explore what this Luffy deck has to offer. Starting with our 4-life, 5,000 power leader, Monkey.D.Luffy, who is the 4 Emperors and Straw Hat Crew type. We also have 2 copies of the 3-cost, 4,000 power Nico Robin with a 2k counter, 2 copies of the 6-cost, 7,000 power Monkey.D.Luffy, 4 copies of the 7-cost, 9,000 power Soba Mask, 2 copies of the 3-cost, 4,000 power Tony Chopper with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 8-cost, 10,000 power General Frankie, 4 copies of the 6-cost, 8,000 power Son Goru with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 5-cost, 6,000 power Jinbei with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 5-cost, 4,000 power Fra Nosuke with a 2k counter, 4 copies of the 4-cost, 6,000 power Usopp with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 3-cost, 2,000 power Nami with a 2k counter, 4 copies of the 3-cost, 5,000 power Roronoa Zoro, 4 copies of the 5-cost, 7,000 power Brook with a 1k counter, 4 copies of the 2-cost event Gum Gum Lightning, 4 copies of the 1-cost event Gum Gum Giant, and, of course, our 10 Dawn cards. Now, let's take a closer look at our cards, starting with our leader Luffy. He is a purple-black leader, which means that both colors of cards are fair game to be included in your deck. If you attach one Dawn card to him, all of your characters gain +1 to their cost. And once per turn during your turn, if you've returned 2 Dawn cards from your field to your Dawn deck, you can take 2 Dawn cards from your Dawn deck and put them back on your field with one set is active and the other one rested. So you're getting 2 Dawn cards back that you returned to the deck, one to use this turn, and one you'll be able to use your next turn or as a rested Dawn to be moved this turn. Nami has an on-play effect that requires you to return 1 or more Dawn card from your field to your Dawn deck to be able to give up to 2 of your rested Dawn to either your leader or one character. With it being 1 or more Dawn card you're returning, it leaves you open to return 2 so you can trigger your leader's effect. Also, when you're returning a Dawn card to your Dawn deck, it can be a Dawn that has already been rested. Zoro's on-play effect also has you return 1 or more Dawn card from your field to your Dawn deck to then be able to add 1 Dawn card from the Dawn deck back to your field as active. If you look just at this card's ability without considering our leader's effect, it does seem a little bit silly. You're putting a Dawn card back in its deck just to take it out again. However, combined with your leader's ability, you're able to get 3 Dawn back out of your Dawn deck, with 2 active and free to be reused again this turn. Jinbei is a blocker and gains 1000 power during your opponent's turn if you have 10 Dawn cards on your field. Franosuke gains Rush if you attach one Dawn card to him and have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field, letting him attack the turn he was played. Now we have our 2 event cards. Gum Gum Giant is a counter card. You return 2 of your Dawn cards to your Dawn deck and trash 1 card from your hand to be able to give your leader or 1 character plus 4,000 power for the battle if your leader is Straw Hat Crew type, which Luffy is. And then you get to draw 2 cards. Gum Gum Lightning can be played during your main phase. You return 2 Dawn cards to your Dawn deck and then KO one of your opponent's characters with 6k power or less. If you pull this from your life card, its trigger lets you add 1 Dawn card from your deck to the field it's set as active. Then we have our 3 basic cards with no effects, Usopp, Sanguru, and Brook. Interestingly, Brook is the only black card included in this purple-black starter deck. All the cards we've talked about so far have been available before this deck, with most of them having come from OP05 and OP09. So let's talk about the 5 new cards that were made for this deck. Tony Chopper is a blocker, and on play, if you return 2 Dawn cards to their deck, you can either rest one of your opponent's Dawn cards, possibly making it where they don't have enough to play that counter event they were hoping to, or rest one of their characters that cost 1 or less. Soba Mask gets -5 to its cost if you have a Sanguru or a Sanji character with 7,000 base power or more, making it a 2 cost instead. And on play, you return all of your Sanguru or Sanji cards from your field to your hand. General Frankie's on-play effect has you return 2 Dawn cards to your Dawn deck to be able to give up to 2 of your opponent's characters -2k power for the turn. Nico Robin has an on-play effect requiring you to return 2 Dawn cards back to their deck so you can add 1 Dawn card back to your field set as active. Then we have our Monkey.D.Luffy character. I'm sure you're going to be surprised to learn that to get his effect you have to return 2 Dawn cards to your Dawn deck. Now, by doing that either on play or when attacking, so long as your leader is multicolored, which our Luffy leader of course is, and your opponent has 5+ Dawn cards on the field, your Straw Hat Crew type leader's base power is now 7k until the end of your opponent's next in phase. And since this card was made for this deck, our leader of course has the Straw Hat Crew type. So if you use this card's effect and then attach a Dawn to your leader to get the +1 cost to all your characters' effect, instead of being at 6k power, you're now at 8k power. Alrighty, and that's all of the cards that come in this starter deck. This deck is big on manipulating Dawn and moving it around to suit your needs. It's got some fun cards to help you reuse Dawn cards a few different times each turn. Now, let's talk about some upgrade cards for this deck. Starting with some Monkey.D.Luffys. There's the purple 10 cost 12,000 power Monkey.D.Luffy from OP05. This card is pretty wild, so hang in there. On play, you can return your 10 Dawn cards to your Dawn deck and then put all your characters except this one at the bottom of your deck in any order. And then you get to take another turn after this one. Also, once per turn during your main phase, you can rest 1 Dawn card to be able to take 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active on your field. If all of that sounds familiar, it's because we've talked about this card before in our Starter Deck 18 video. If you do use this card, don't forget you can swing with all the characters you're about to return to your deck and use what effects of theirs you want before you play this card. Moving on, we have the purple 9 cost 10,000 power Luffy from OP09. This one's on-play effect has you return 1 or more Dawn card to your Dawn deck to be able to draw 1 card and give this card Rush. The purple 6 cost 7,000 power Luffy from EBO2 lets you return 2 of your active Dawn cards to your Dawn deck, set this character to active, then add the top of your life cards to your hand once per turn when attacking. Now it does specify for this that the Dawn cards you return must be active and not rested. This Luffy does also gain Rush if your opponent has 5 or more Dawn cards on their field, since our leader is multicolored. Oh look, a black Luffy snuck in. This Luffy is from OP10 and has a cost of 6, 7,000 power, and a 1k counter. Once per turn, if an opponent's effect would KO this character, it just doesn't. And when attacking, you can take 3 cards from your trash and put them at the bottom of your deck in any order. Then, if your opponent has 5+ cards in their hand, they have to trash 1. Sanji from Starter Deck 14 is a black card with 5 cost and has 6,000 power. His on-play effect lets you KO one of your opponent's 5 cost or less characters if you have a 6 cost or more character on the field. Purple Sanji from OP09 is 7 cost, 7000 power, and has a 1k counter. On play, you can return one or more of your Dawn cards to your Dawn deck so he gains Rush, and you can rest one of your opponent's 6 cost or less characters. Remember that Soba mask that came in the starter deck? These two Sanjis would work great with it. You'll get that decreased cost for the Soba mask by having that purple Sanji out, and then you'll be able to get both of their on-play effects again since you'll end up returning them to your hand. Either of these Sanjis would be great replacement cards for that Zangaroo that came in this deck, as would this purple Sanji from OP07. He's 6 cost, 6000 power, and has a 2k counter. He doesn't have any on-play effects, but he is a blocker. Also, if you have at least 2 less Dawn cards than your opponent has on the field, he gets -3 to his cost. So a great card to play in between returning Dawn to your Dawn deck and bringing them back out again with your leader's ability. Zorojoro from OP05 is purple, 3 cost, has 4000 power, and a 1k counter. When attacking, you can take one Dawn card from your Dawn deck and set it as active on your field if you have 3 or less life cards. Purple Onami from ST18 has a cost of 4, 2000 power, and a 1k counter. She is a blocker with an on-play effect that lets you trash 1 card from your hand and draw 2 cards if you have 8 or more Dawn cards on your field. Usohachi is also from the purple starter deck 18. He's 3 cost, 3k power, and has a 2k counter. He has an on-play effect where if you have 8+ Dawn cards on your field, you can rest one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 5 or less. Frankie from OP09 is 4 cost, 5000 power, and has a 1k counter. He's a blocker, and on play you can return 2 of your Dawn cards to your Dawn deck and trash 1 card from your hand to then draw 2 cards. Also, he's a purple card. Now, on to some event cards. We have the purple 2-cost Top Knot from OP03, which is used during your main phase. You return 2 of your Dawn cards and then place one of your opponent's 4 cost or less characters at the bottom of their deck. If you draw this card from your life cards, you get the same effect. The 6-cost Liberation is a black card from OP10. It's used during your main phase. If you have at least 2 fewer characters than your opponent, you can KO one of your opponent's base cost 6 characters and one of their base cost 4 characters. If you pull it from your life cards, you can negate the effect of your opponent's leader or one of their characters for the turn. Shiki from OP06 is 2 cost, 1000 power, and has a 1k counter. He's a blocker, and on play, if you have 8+ Dawn cards on your field, you can draw 1 card and trash 1 card from your hand. Black Maria from OP08 is 3 cost, has 2000 power, and a 2k counter. Once per turn during your main phase, if you don't have any other Black Marias in play, you can add up to 5 Dawn cards from your deck to your field rested. At the end of your turn, you return however many Dawn cards back to your Dawn deck as it takes to make sure that you have the same amount of Dawn cards on the field as your opponent. This is a great way to get some extra Dawn on the field to move around with your character's effects, and it's also great to get you back to a higher number of Dawn if you've worked yourself down just a little bit too much. On to a couple of black cards, we have Tsuru from OP02, who is 1 cost, has 0 power, but does have a 2k counter. On play, you give -2 cost to one of your opponent's characters for the turn. One-legged Toy Soldier from OP05 is 2 cost, 0 power, and has a 2k counter. During your main phase, you can trash this character to give one of your opponent's characters -3 cost for the turn. Back to purple, we have Mr. 2, Bonkure, who is out of ED01, with a cost of 4, 1000 power, and a 1k counter. On play, you can add 1 Dawn card from your Dawn deck to the field as active. And when attacking, this character's base power becomes the same as one of your opponent's character's base power that you select for this turn. Trafalgar Law from OP09 is 1 cost, has 2000 power, and a 1k counter. He's a searcher card that lets you on play look at the top 4 cards of your deck, reveal a Straw Hat Crew or Heart Pirates type card that costs 2 or more, and place it in your hand. Then you put the rest of the cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. Beppo is also from OP09, has a cost of 2, 2000 power, and a 2k counter. Once per turn during your turn, when you return a Dawn card from your field to your deck, your leader or one character gains plus 1k power for the turn. Kaido from Starter Deck 4 is 9 cost and has 10,000 power. On play, if you return 5 of your Dawn cards on your field to your Dawn deck, you can KO one of your opponent's characters with a cost of 6 or less, and he gets rushed so you can attack with him right after. Then we have the black 8 cost 9k power Gecko Moria from OP06 that on play lets you choose up to one character with a cost of 4 or less, and one character with a cost of 2 or less from your trash. You play one as active and the other as rested. A great way to get cards you weren't quite done with out of your trash and back onto your board. And if you do choose a 4 cost and a 2 cost, you're getting 14 Dawn worth of cards out onto the board for only 8 Dawn. Plus, you get the on-play effects from those cards you took out of your trash again. And that's it for Starter Deck 26. This fun combination of purple and black lets you manipulate your Dawn cards with its purple side and manipulate character cost with the black side. Overall, it's going to be a fun deck no matter how you play it. Now, let's get to opening up that OP11 pack and see what fun is in store for us there. As always, don't forget we put out new videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday with shorts on Sundays. We focus mainly on One Piece, Pokemon, and Lorcana. If you haven't watched our other starter deck videos, go check them out. Find what deck fits you the best. Also, make sure you're following us on Instagram at thatcardgirl.tcg. There's a link for it in the description. Seriously? Another leader card? Wow, at least make it an alt next time. Please make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and I guess tell the next leader you see about us. That Card Girl out!